What's up, YouTube? It's Artisan MC, and today I am going to review A Quiet Place Part 2. Now, it's June. Things have started opening again in California, and my absolute favorite place to go see movies opened back up again recently, and that's the Cerrito Theater in El Cerrito. I love this spot. I know everybody that used to work in there prior to the pandemic, and I missed them, and I'm glad that they actually got to come back and get back to work. So I thought it was my duty to go in there and see the movie that was offered me to see, which was A Quiet Place Part 2. Now, coming into this movie, I wanted to see it. I saw the first one. I thought the first one was really good, imaginative, and new, and I really liked the ideas in there. The ending messed me up a little bit. But being a father, I understand how that works. And having those irritating ass kids, I can see why he had to do it. But I was really enthralled with the movie, seeing John Krasinski in it and finding out that he and Emily Blunt were actually really married, a real life couple. So I thought that translated really well to the screen. Now, Quiet Place 2 picks up right where the first one left off. And I will tell you, the phenomenon that I saw in watching A Quiet Place, the first one, was that people were so into the movie that they were afraid to even eat popcorn while they were watching the movie. Was awesome to me. It's like it was a phenomenal experience to watch. Got the same thing in this one, but this one had some added stuff in there. So you get the movie starting off, and it goes back in time a bit to tell you the first question that was asked in the first movie: where the hell did these creatures come from? And in this movie, you get a little bit of an explanation to where those creatures did come from. It fell from space. That was easy, right? Exactly where. Why they fell from space, you don't know. But you're getting to see that this opens in small town USA, and you get to see John Krasinski's character, Lee Abbott, just going in the small town and going to watch the game with his family that his son is playing in. It's like a Little League game, and everybody in the town is there. And during the course of the Little League game, you see this huge meteorite falling from the sky. Okay, nobody knows what it is, but everybody is freaking out because, assumably in this world they've seen the movie Armageddon. So, this is not a good thing. So everybody goes to leave, and by the time they go to leave, you get the first introduction of the creatures that you saw from the first movie, coming and taking out a police officer. Now, it's funny about this person getting taken out, this first person getting taken out. There are 3 to 4 instances where you see people really get, kind of messed up by these characters out of a total of maybe 5 in the whole movie. And these 4 or 5 stood out to me, and I'll tell you as I go on, because I want to keep this kind of short. I want to try to keep it to 15 minutes. So you get the reintroduction of Emily Blunt's character being Evelyn Abbott, and then what's her name, Millicent Simmons as Regan, and then Noah Jupe as Marcus, and the new baby, which is unnamed, leaving the family house that has now been burning for a day or so and setting off to find a new place to hide out. Now, for me, the first question is, why leave? My thing is, put out the damn fire. I wouldn't have left, because The husband in the first movie set that situation up pretty well, and outside of those creatures getting there and screwing up a little bit, put the fire out, stop the water, and then you can still stay there. But regardless of that, to move the story on, they have to leave, and they set out on the road to find one of the people that they were signaling with the signal fires every night from the first movie. Now, the daughter has the map that the father made, and she's plotting the course, and she's going to be the little soldier and be the head of the family now. Okay, I'll get to that later as well. Now, on this journey, they finally get outside of the predetermined paths that the father had laid down for them, which was sanded over so they could walk barefoot and there would be no noise. Now they're off into the dried brush and leaves, into the undiscovered country, so to speak, that they are now setting out into. And you get the whole sensation feeling of what's going on in this movie. It's fucking tense. I mean, once again, the phenomenon holds that they step off into this and everything is quiet. It's quiet. Nobody's saying nothing. They ain't rustling nothing. The wind might be making too much noise, but everybody in the theater is quiet as hell. And you get them coming to the first big action set piece of the movie where they discover an old warehouse or steel factory, right? And they're going through these broken chain link fence and overgrown brush or whatnot. And by no, well, it's a mistake of them. Fuck it. Because they don't look where they're putting their bare ass feet, Emily Blunt's character of Evelyn trips a tripwire, and the tripwire drops down, and it's a bunch of empty glass bottles making a crap load of noise. And since you remember from the first movie that these creatures are driven by sound, they're blind as shit. They hunt everything by sound, and their sound is really good over miles. And unfortunately, they are really fucking quick. They will get there soon to find their kill. So you get the first action set piece where Emily Blunt, the two kids, and the baby in the little baby's protective box from the first movie are now hauling ass across this field to run from these creatures and find some shelter instead of being quiet. Well, from this, you get the introduction that somebody is watching them through a rifle scope. And right after that, the son, Marcus, played by Noah Jupe, runs and steps on a goddamn bear trap. Now, this is the most cringeworthy moment in the whole movie because, one, getting stuck in a bear trap is not a fun deal. I'm surprised the brother didn't lose his leg. If you've never seen a Saw movie, you know bear traps ain't nothing to play with. But this little kid steps into a bear trap, and as you can imagine, he screams no joy. He screams his goddamn head off, which is the first cringe moment in the movie because the boy screams like a little girl. He does. But he got caught in a bear trap. What else is he going to do? But the first thing I'm thinking of is punch this boy in the face and get him to shut the hell up. I'm sorry. This boy screaming was irritating the shit out of me. And this ain't the first time he do it. This is the first time he does it in the movie, but it ain't the last time. And it irritates the shit out of me. Right? So with that, you get one of the creatures coming. And it's close. And you get the daughter revealing in this movie, like they learned in the last movie, that the reverb from her hearing aid that her dad fixed for her actually hurts those creatures. It sends out a feedback wave that gets to the creatures and actually stuns them. Right? They can't really move. They can't really hear. They're kind of stuck in place when you hear it. And you get Emily Blunt being able to, calm her son Marcus down, who got the bear trap on his foot, to get him to stop freaking screaming. And then she racks the shotty and blows this damn creature's head off. Well, the person that is watching in the rifle scope sees this and is kind of amazed. But because they've now done the shotgun blast, they're now running again. They get the trap off the boy's leg, and now they're running inside of this foundry factory with other creatures en route, looking for them to chase after them. Once they get around the corner, they're grabbed by somebody, and it reveals itself to be Killian Murphy, who is playing the character of Emmett in this movie. Now, in the prequel, in the beginning of the movie, where you get to see the day one of these creatures landing, you get to meet Emmett and see that Emmett knew Lee, and Lee being the father of this family. He knew Lee and they were kind of friends, and that Emmett's brother worked for the military nearby. And Emmett had his own wife and his own kids. Right. But when you meet Emmett in this, it's been a while. It's 474 or 475 days later. Emmett had a hard time going of it. Okay. Emmett grabs Evelyn and takes him into his little bunker that he has within this little steel foundry, which is kind of cool. It's a one-way slide. You get in, and it's all underground, concreted in. They can't hear anything, so you can actually talk and move freely without making too much damage. Okay. So you get into this bunker, and you reveal that Emmett was the one watching through the rifle scope, and he has the family there, and they need help. And while they're hiding inside of a boiler, Emmett tells them that he cannot keep them there. They can only stay the night, and then they have to go because he does not have enough food or enough resources for everybody. They have to find somewhere else to go. And they're kind of shocked by this, that Emmett, knowing them from the past, won't help them more than that. And to this, it's meant to seem like Emmett's kind of a bad dude for doing this shit, but I'm thinking about the situation a whole year or so later. This is like a Walking Dead situation. There is nothing else being gathered. Now, they left a home that had plenty of food in it to come to now a bunker where this man is by himself now because from the looks of the place, his son has died, his wife has died. He's alone. He doesn't have a bunch of food around to feed, 3 other growing mouths and a baby who can go, start crying at any moment and put them all in danger. So understandably, it seems wrong, but I understand his situation. Now, within this situation, you get Millicent Simmons' character of Regan. She's trying to calm her brother down from his pain and whatnot in his leg that has been treated by his mother. And she puts the radio on and they start to hear music. Hear a song, Beyond the Sea. And Regan's character is mad in some senses at Killian Murphy's character of Emmett, because Emmett knows what the song is, and he's saying it's nothing. But Regan is adamant that it's something. It must be something. And that her father would have told him if he heard anything, that he wasn't lying. And Emmett reinforces, like, no, it's just started playing like 4 months ago, and that's all it's been on repeat. But Regan is sure that it's something else. Now, this gets into the part that irritates me about this movie a little bit. These goddamn kids is irritating. Okay, I'm gonna just say that right off the bat. I'm not a fan of these kids in this movie. I don't. Truly, the only kid I was a fan of is the one in the beginning, which was in the first movie, which was kind of fucked up. But look, I'll just say this. A lot of people get killed messing around with these goddamn unruly, undisciplined ass kids. A lot of people get killed behind these damn kids because they always want to go off and do what they ain't supposed to be doing within a situation that there are really hard and fast rules. You've cost other people their lives already. Notably so, to get to the second movie, your actions cost your father his life. to save you. And no more than a day later, here they are again. And the same kid, the one that's supposed to be deaf, she about to sign her way out of doing what she's supposed to be doing, and she wants to go off on a journey on her own against her mother's wishes, endangering everybody else. Now, because she listens to this radio broadcast and works it all out for herself, she figures that it's a message and that the song is a clue to tell you where to go. She brings this information to Emmett. She brings it to her mother. They both are like, hell no, don't go. She tells her brother. Her brother was like, hell no, because halfly her brother is a pussy. But other than that, he hurt and kind of lame. And by the next morning, she is gone. She's taken upon herself. She's going. Now, this is the part that irritates the shit out of me, right? Because by the next morning, when they realize that Regan has just taken upon herself to take the one shotgun her mother has, one of the two weapons her mother has, she takes the shotgun, she takes the radio in her earpiece, and she just figures, I can use this to get to wherever I'm going, and I'm out. I'm going to find these people. By the next morning, Emily Blunt's character, is talking to Emmett, and now she is trying to guilt Emmett into going after and rescuing her willful, undisciplined ass daughter, which even her father couldn't do in the first movie. Now, this is the part where I had issue. I'm a fan of this movie, or this series now. I'm a fan of John Krasinski. I think this was a really clever movie. But like I was saying just a moment ago, fuck these kids. Because this little willful ass bitch gets people killed. And I didn't appreciate the fact that Emily Blunt's character is trying to guilt a man that she just met, that it is now his responsibility to look after her children after her husband is passed, and guilting him into doing it by saying, which I thought was the most fucked up thing to say, if Lee was here and asking you to do that, you would do it. And I'm thinking that's fucking bullshit, because if Lee was there, Lee would already be gone after his damn daughter, or his daughter wouldn't have left, and y'all wouldn't be in Emmett's camp. I thought that was bullshit. I thought it was a real white knight guilt shame moment of the Evelyn character to Emmett to get him to go out and do something that's not in his best interest to do. So now he needs to go out into the dangerous world to go retrieve her knuckleheaded daughter while they sit in Emmett's bunker and eat his food and lounge it up. Cool. No. So the rest of the movie goes through to where it is basically Regan's journey. That's what they could have called this one. It could have been A Quiet Place 2, Regan's journey. Because now this willful child is out there in the world to find people to come back and help her family. And she's going to do it by herself because she is bound and determined. And she has the power of her magic earpiece to make her immune to any of these creatures coming after. Now, within, I don't know, 2 or 4 hours after she's gone, and she goes onto a train and finds this derailed train and tries to get a first aid kit so she can bandage up her bare ass feet that's bleeding all over the place because these people don't have enough sense to get a pair of shoes like Emmett has while walking on rocks and steel and wood and stuff. She gets caught by a creature because she's making too much goddamn noise. And she almost gets killed. Again. And it has to be saved. Again. By Emmett. Now, luckily, in some senses, Emmett came after her. and rescued her ass, because otherwise her journey would have been over right there. She couldn't shoot the shotgun with one hand and hold the earpiece and the microphone and the radio all in one hand, and that creature was going to end her life. Which, in some senses, he probably should have. Rescued. God loves a fool. So now, Regan and Emmett are going to do this whole thing together. And Regan explains to him how to talk to her because she's deaf and Emmett doesn't know sign language. So she is taking more of a teaching role with him, so he learns how to communicate with her. And he is now guiding her or being her protector on this journey to get to this place, to get to by the shore, or this island that is right off the shore, because he has found some boats. So they stay the night, and it leads to the next interesting scene where they hide in the old train station. And then the next morning, Regan wakes up, and she doesn't have her earpiece. It's not on her. Stuff's gone. Emmett's gone. She's freaking the hell out. But this is something really interesting that they did in the movie, and this was not the first time they did it. They did it in the beginning as well, where when you're seeing the world through Regan's perception, there is no sound whatsoever. None. Because she can't hear. But you don't get sound again until she starts to interact with another person who is not hearing impaired, and they actually touch her. Once they actually touch her, now you're in the other character's visual space of hearing the sounds and stuff like that of the world around you. This is one of the things that I thought was really interesting about having the Regan character go off on her own, because whereas her earpiece gives her a little bit of hearing function, mostly she can't hear what the hell it is she's doing. So she could be making a shitload of noise the whole time and wouldn't really know. But maybe I'm not understanding the way the earpiece works. But I'm thinking, because she can't hear this stuff, she's going to make a lot of goddamn noise, because she don't walk graceful. Regardless of that, Emmett, Regan find the wharf with boats, and they walk on and get down there to go discover some boats. Now, at this point, this is where the other dumb stuff for me in the movie happens. Some of the people in this movie do some dumb shit. Just out and out dumb shit for your situation. While Regan and Emmett are gone, Evelyn decides that she needs to leave to go find some more medicines or whatnot to take care of her son Marcus's damaged leg. Luckily, the bear trap didn't break the bone, didn't get all the way to the bone, so he just has a lot of tissue damage on the outside. She bandages as good as she can, but without some better medical supplies, he's going to be in a lot of pain soon, and we already heard the way this little bitch screams. He's going to be screaming bloody murder and getting creatures to come and get him. She also notices that the air canister that she has for the baby, when the baby's in the soundproof bassinet, is running low. So she needs to leave to go try to find some of these supplies. Okay. She leaves the baby with the son Marcus, which to me, I'm not thinking that's a capable kid at all. He hasn't proven it yet. He's just a big baby. From the first movie to the second one, he's a crying little bitch. Sick of this kid. Right. So I don't think it's the smartest move, but it's just the three of them there. She leaves the kid, and immediately the motherfucker wants to come after her like he can't be by himself. Still trying to figure out who's older, Regan or Marcus, but I think Marcus is the older brother and he's the weenie. Okay. It's just what it seems like. So Emily Blunt leaves, and the son is there by himself. And the son, within, so many hours or so of his mother being gone, even though she says she'll be gone a few hours and be back, he can't wait that long. So he decides to go exploring in this place, puts his little brother in the bassinet, and puts the oxygen mask on him. Not much oxygen. And go up and start exploring the rest of this foundry with his hobbling, limping ass. Now, this is a good part in the cut to where you get the action of Marcus happening in one place. You get the action of Emily Blunt, who has now gone back to the gravesite of her youngest son and left the ring of her husband there, which I don't think you should do. You married. You're keeping that goddamn ring on. You don't leave. But she has gone back to the store in town to find these medical supplies. And then you have Regan and Emmett on this dock trying to find one of these bolts, and they get startled by something, which turns out to be a little girl. And Emmett, being a decent person, tries to see what this little girl is hurt or whatever. And the little girl throws a noose around his neck of netting and cowbells and a bunch of other stuff, and discovers a group of other people who are living on this dock who have some other ideas about what they're going to do with these people on the dock. Now, this interplay of these three different locations is interesting, but what you think happened pretty much happens. Emily Blunt finds her supplies and starts heading back. Marcus silly ass, exploring around, finds the dead body of Emmett's wife, starts screaming, trips over some shit, knocking down stuff, and he bringing creatures into the foundry. On the dock, because Regan is down there, Emmett is tied up with all this noisy stuff on. These people, who apparently are other townsfolk that live on this loading dock, they have reverted to some more animalistic type shit, and they're going to take this little girl to rape her, eat her. I don't know. The inclination is that they probably going to take this little deaf girl and rape her, which is really fucking sick. But it's in there. It's not said, obviously, what they're going to do with her, but the way the guy is looking at her, it's making it seem like he hard up for some young meat, which I got to deal without that part. From the scene, though, you get Emmett learning another weakness that the creatures have. Because so far, the creatures are only weak to sound and fucking gunshots if they can get through their little headpiece, right? From this scene, you learn that the creatures also cannot swim for shit, which is kind of not surprising the way they look. They're pretty, slick and leathery and walk really hunched over and stuff like that. Just long limbs. They made for running, not for swimming. Any sense? So they're not good at swimming at all. But you get Emmett and Regan getting the boat and getting themselves out to the island. Back at the foundry, you get young dumbass jumping with his little brother into the boiler and forgetting to put the towel on the latch for the boiler and getting himself locked in the boiler, which runs out of air within 3 to 5 minutes or so. And he has now put his little brother into this bassinet and put the oxygen mask on his face, and there's no oxygen in the container. Now, the part that I don't blame Marcus for the oxygen, because his fucking mother should have told him that. She knew. She didn't pass that information on to him when she left. So he doesn't know there's not really any oxygen in the tank. So within this boiler, he and his brother are probably going to suffocate to death. Emily Blunt gets back. She has 2 bottles of oxygen and some peroxide and some other wraps and stuff for Marcus, but there's a creature around. So in fantastic fashion, She sacrifices one of the cans of oxygen to try to take out this creature, which does not work, and gets downstairs into the bunker to look for her children and leaves her gun behind her to run into the boiler with her two sons and close the boiler to also have little to no oxygen. She has the one tank, but they're in there for a while. Now, from here with Emmett and Regan, you get them coming up on the island and discovering that there are people on this island. It was a message. And this is where you get the introduction of Jamon Honsu as, get this is how he's credited in this shit, man on island. He's the man on the island. There's a bunch of them there, but he's the man on the island. And finding out that, yes, they've been playing this song for a while because they have a radio station on this island. That the creatures can't swim, so they can't get here. So these people were living, free, being noisy, having cookouts and stuff like that, and just living life. And sending the signal, hoping other people get here. Now, because of the way Emmett and Regan got there, the creature ends up on the damn island. And it leads to the next two catastrophic deaths that are, I don't know, I'm a black man. It's kind of race baiting to me. The next two really visible deaths that I've latched on to was the guy getting water from the well is a brother, and he gets his ass ripped up for making all that noise with a bucket. And then you get the Jamon Houston's exit from the movie, which he was in there a short amount of time. They must have been paying him by the hour. They couldn't afford that. But you get him getting killed as well, quickly, in service of saving, getting the little girl, Regan and Emmett, to the radio station. Now, to not tell you the end of the movie, obviously, but the movie does end in a somewhat satisfying way, and it does leave room that the story can go for a third movie. It can go for a third movie. Because of the things that happen and how the story is written, you still don't know what the hell these creatures want. But then again, I think the creatures are pretty self-evident of what the hell they want. They want it quiet. Them creatures are like, an old 50s daddy who came home from his, 40-hour shift or 12-hour shift at the mill, and he don't want to hear shit. He don't want to hear no noisy kids. He don't want to hear the tractor mowing. He don't want to hear the leaf blower outside. He want quiet, serious quiet. I think that's what the creatures want when they came here. Everybody to shut the hell up. I think that's pretty obvious. But for me, just to keep this short, it's like 35 minutes, so it's going to take forever to edit. But I enjoyed this movie. I did think the kids bothered the hell out of me, but one of the things that this movie does well in service of these kids' dumbness is jump scares. The jump scares in this are not cheap jump scares, but they get you. I went to this movie showing in the theater with a lady friend, and she was losing her shit. Like, for real. I've never seen somebody have this much of a panic attack watching scary stuff happen in the movie. She said she didn't like horror movies. I just took it as, she'll scream a little bit, she'll clutch, it'll be good. No, she almost ran the hell out of it. She was physically shaking like it was this 8.5 going on. She was terrified, waiting to see bad stuff happen to dumb acting children. So that made the movie kind of more entertaining for me because I wasn't scared, but she's jumping and grabbing me. Like, the fuck, dude, goddamn. Look, I'm a mean man sometimes. What can I say? But I enjoyed it. If you get a chance to go see it, theaters are open again, as far as I know. Check and see if there's one open in your town and throw them some money. They've been closed a long time and they need the help. And A Quiet Place is a good movie to go and watch in a quiet place and see how your new theater experience is going to be. So that's it. I'd watch it again. Less jumps, but I'm look forward to seeing how this story goes forward if they do a third movie. So props to John Krasinski for doing the second movie and even making it good without him being in it. This movie compared to the first one, I still like the first one a little more because you saw a little less of the creatures. This one had the jump scare factor to where you saw more creatures. You saw them more in full view. And the first one had more of that alien feel where you knew they was out there, but you wasn't always getting a good, clean view of the creatures because them motherfuckers was moving way too fast. It wasn't until the end when you saw, oh shit, it's like 3 or 4 of them that you were freaking out. So different tones, but they're both good. So props to him. So that's it for me on this review of A Quiet Place 2, Part 2. Like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.
You want to talk to me?
Think you're awake, but it's all an illusion.